Hey YouTube, what is going on? McFlurDuels here with a deck profile on Draco Morphages for this upcoming format, or this format in general. And basically, I tuned up the deck so it can be able to compete. And I just feel like this is the best variant. Morphages on their own are way too slow, and their low scales are very bad. And the Dracos have some decent low scales, and they're very big beaters. So basically, you just want to be able to stun out your opponent. But enough said, we can dive deep into this deck profile. And besides that, go ahead and like and subscribe. And shout out to my friend Pedro for basically trading me the Morphage cards I needed. So getting onto the deck profile, I'm just going to share with you the card choices I run, which are the 3 the cherry. All it does is basically stop spell cards when it's in the pendulum scale, which is really good, essentially. 3 gluttony. Gluttony essentially stops monster effects. So it's basically a walking skill drain, or not a walking skill drain, but a skill drain in the pendulum scale. Then you have 3 master restricts, being the Morphage Wrath, which is really good. 1 Morphage Pride. Pride is the worst Morphage in my opinion. All he does essentially is stop effect damage, but you run him just because he's a really needed low scale. 2 Morphage Greed. This is essentially Royal Decree. It's just really good in my opinion. There are a lot of decks this format that are trap heavy. There's a lot of demise builds, so a Morphage Greed comes in handy. 2 copies of a Morphage Envy. What Envy does is basically makes it where your opponent cannot chain cards, which is pretty good in my opinion. He does come up occasionally, but he's just there for another Morphage name. Then you have the Wonder Morphage Sloth and the Wonder Morphage Goliath. Sloth is essentially a mistake, while Goliath is essentially a macrocosmos. My thing with Goliath is I can't pendulum summon him, which is very bad. And Sloth, I can pendulum summon him with, of course, Archie and Eccentric, but that takes a lot of setup, in my opinion, and I usually never want to have Archie and Eccentric in the pendulum scale, unless I'm trying to pop a spell or trap. So basically, that's the Morphage lineup I run. I run essentially 16 Morphage monsters. I tried running more, but it's just the fact that a lot of Morphage monsters aren't really that good. And like Goliath and Sloth, they're amazing, but it's just the fact that they're such high level monsters that you can barely get them on the field. And their cards like Pendulum Reborn, but I just find them way too slow. This deck needs to be able to set up a decent board and just stun out your opponent. For the other pendulums I run a 2 Archfiend Eccentrics. This is there to just pop back rogue, as well as it's pretty good monster removal. You can tribute it off to blow up monsters as well, which is pretty good. Draco Slayer's engine consists of 3 masters, the 1 luster, the 1 vector, and the 1 rector. You run Draco Slayer engine in here just because you need a lot of low scales. Just because this deck has a really big low scale issue, but with the Draco Slayer engine, it gives the deck way needed beaters, and it's just really good in my opinion. Like all I can say about this engine is it's just the best pendulum engine alongside, like, I try other engines, but this is the best engine that coexists with Morphages. Then the best card in the deck is the 2 Majesty Fiend. The reason Majesty Fiend is so good in this deck is because your monsters are continuous, which makes it they have continuous effects, which makes it where Majesty Fiend cannot negate them. So what you can basically do is you can have Majesty Fiend alongside your Morphage monster, and it makes it where they can't go to the extra deck, as well as they can activate monster effects, which is way too broken. So you basically auto win if you get a Morphage monster and a Majesty Fiend up. Then you have 3 copies of Morphage Infection. Basically, all he does is when you tribute off in the Morphage or one is destroyed by battle or card effect, he essentially replaces it by allowing you to add a Morphage card from the deck to your hand. Then you have the 1 Terraforming and the 2 Morphage Personas. Basically, a Persona, all it does is essentially, whenever an Morphage is tributed, you can essentially draw a card, and it does it up to twice. So basically, this card allows you to just essentially go +1, which is really good. Kind of slow, but it's needed in this deck, especially since it's a spell card. I don't run a lot of traps in here, just because the monsters themselves are essentially traps. 2 dualities. A lot of people are going to be like, this is such a bad card, but in the Morphage, it's really good in my opinion. mainly because you rather have a skill drain up than a card that only stops your opponent going to the extra deck, in my opinion. You need to be able to search the really good pendulum scales, and I find these are the pendulum scales are way better. So you can afford to not be able to special summon your Morphagia out if you get some really needed scales. So I run 2 power dualities for that. The one painful decision is just really good. The one Raigeki for just monster removal. The Draco face off is one for a reason, and then the Osar for draw power. And the last 2 traps I run, or the last 2 cards I run, are just the 2 Morphage Lysis. All it does basically is replace your Morphages, which isn't that bad. I only like 2 just because it's a trap. I don't find traps are that good this format, and I'm just not a fan of it. Then for the extra deck, which you rarely go into, you have the 1 Ignister, the 2 Magisters, the 2 Dinosaurs. That's your Drake Slayer engine essentially. Then you got 1 Rhapsody, which should be a Gaga Cowboy. I unfortunately don't own one. Yeah, I own like all these other good cards, which are 2 Dwellers, the Emerald, the Direwolf, the Castell, the Utopia Squad, and then the Harbinger. And to me, like, if you have a Cowboy, put the Cowboy in for Rhapsody. But like these other cards are just staples. They come up way more than Rhapsody and the Cowboy. But it's just you want to make your extra deck as useful as possible, even though you're not going to go into it. You just want, if a situation ever happens that you need a card, it's always good to just have it just in case. But besides that, that's the extra deck, guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe for more content. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Peace, and McFlare Duelist is signing out.